Good morning. Hey, Armando.
Good morning. Uh, do you know is anybody bought the Mardi Gras bread?
Say what?
Are you familiar with New Orleans in Louisiana, a city in Louisiana?
I am.
They celebrate Mardi Gras.
Oh, Mardi Gras. Okay. Well, they're not the only ones who celebrate Mardi Gras, but okay.
Mobile, another one.
Yeah, that's kind of the famous one.
Yeah, in my city in South America too. On Tuesday, they make a round bread. It has decoration on the top, and inside is a little plastic doll, and they cut it on Fat Tuesday. Whoever get that doll has to do something or cook something or buy something, I don't know. So when does any one of the group bought that bread so we can cut it, let's see. You American invented that thing, so don't give me that look.
Well, a certain segment of American culture, and they didn't really invent it. I think it came originally from Europe.
Yeah, America was original from France.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the Middle Age, they used to have some kind of Mardi Gras in Italy, all of those countries, remember? They used to have those mask party and that stuff.
They still do. You know, there's a lot of festivals. So.
You see, I'm not that ignorant.
You know, do I even want to go down that road?
Hi, Miss Naomi. You are twice on the screen.
Yeah, she is. I'm finishing up my snack here.
No, I just got my breakfast.
Yeah. Kind of waiting for people to show up.
Uh-huh. The food at the center today is not that good. Tuna salad. I don't want tuna salad.
Actually, Quentin makes some pretty good tuna salad. It's actually one of the things I like there better than a lot of.
Well, I like my own, you know. I like my own tuna salad, my own chicken salad. So.
Well, I like his because.
You don't have to fix it.
Well, no. I like his because it's not like, you know, some tuna salad that you get it's like 70% mayonnaise.
I don't like too much mayonnaise. No.
Yeah. And see, his is a little bit drier, and so it's you get a little of the pickle relish and a little
pickle relish. You put pickle relish and boiled egg, little bit of celery, a little bit of onion.
Yeah, I don't think he puts any boiled eggs in his tuna salad.
A little bit of mustard.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, I I actually like tuna salad quite a bit. You know, but I'm picky about how people make it.
Yeah.
I tend to like it with a little more pickle relish in it and mayonnaise. A lot of people like it with a lot more mayonnaise and less relish in it. So it's all taste.
And then sometimes I have that hot and sweet pickle. I chop it and put it. I like a little bit of the spicy flavor.
Yeah. You could either do that or you could get like a hot mustard put in there to spice it up.
What are we eating?
We are trying to fix a tuna salad.
We're talking about tuna.
Oh, okay.
Which one is your recipe?
Well,
secret.
Well, you know, I use half avocado and half mayonnaise.
Oh, that's a good idea. I haven't done it that way.
Yeah, it keeps you from being so much unnatural. It's still fat, but unnatural fat. You know? And sometimes I will add a half an apple, cut up half an apple and put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I just get carried away.
Yeah, my sister add apple. She chopped this little small piece.
Yeah. Oh, see, a girl after my own heart. Yeah, that I love to put apple taste in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
But I have a thing about whatever food I really like. I try to figure out a way to add some more fruits and veggies to it. So I can have as much as I want and not feel guilty about it.
Yeah. Been eating a lot of veggie lately. I'm tired of veggie, so.
Because you're not doing it right.
I'm tired of the broccoli and the cauliflower and the carrot and the green beans.
Oh, let me tell you what you can do if you really don't like veggies that much. Do you like pasta?
Well, try to stay away from the pasta and the rice. That's my favorite.
Oh, in that case, I can't have
once a week.
Oh, I was going to tell you, when you eat pasta, you get you some broccoli florets. Steam them.
Yeah.
And don't put the whole thing in. Just a tiny little floret itself, and stir them into your pasta. Not many, maybe 2 little heads, and not the stem at all. Just a little floret part, the little crunchy part. And you can add veggies that way. So what else do I add veggies to that I like a lot?
I don't like zucchini squash. It has no flavor. No, zucchini, you can put whatever you want. It don't have flavor.
That's not true, Armando.
It's yellow squash, yes, because I add a lot of things and then get flavor. So.
I'll tell you what. Take your zucchini, cut it in strips. Put a little olive oil in the bottom of the pan. Of like a cake pan, a flat cooking.
Yeah, a skillet.
Well, no, not a skillet. They go in the oven. They don't go on the top of the stove. But lay them out on that pan, right? Sprinkle with a little bit of salt, and then take some like Parmesan cheese, or Parmesan, or the other one, the Romano.
Oh.
Just sprinkle it over the top of them, put them in the oven, bake them for about, 20 minutes.
Oh.
Wow, I'm going to do that today.
The flavor. I'm a rat. I eat a lot of cheese.
Yeah, that sounds, because I do a lot of veggie chunks. Just put them in chunks. And put I put my olive oil in a big baggie or something like that, and I put any flavor I want. I do different things, and I put those in the oven with those chunks. I tell you, I love roasted vegetables.
Yeah.
Oh, your veggies taste a whole lot better when you roast them.
Well, personally, I'm a big fan of like the butternut squash.
I don't know how to cook that thing.
You basically cut it in half, clean out the pulp from the
inside.
Don't throw away the seeds, though. Okay. Take the seeds, clean them off, put them on the same pan that you're roasting the butternut squash. Again, cover them in salt, okay, and roast them. Roast the seeds while you're roasting the squash. But inside the squash, put things like butter, and like real butter, not margarine, and like nuts, like pistachios, walnuts, almonds, things like that, and roast it.
Okay.
Very good. Or if you have like brown rice or something like that, you can put brown rice in the center.
The squash doesn't take longer to cook than the nuts.
No, you just cook it all together.
Oh, okay.
And then what happens with the nuts is you know, they get softer, you know,
Oh, okay.
almost like the consistency of the squash. They're a little bit chewy, but not much.
Oh, okay.
They
Yeah,
just another layer of
my neighbors bought me a ton of onions. Yeah, but anyway, and I was trying to figure out how to do these onions. And she was saying that put olive oil on them. They're little onion. And she said that cut the tops and the bottom off and put them on a baking sheet and put like a little pat of butter on top. And she said it's just fabulous.
Yeah.
So I have.
Now, are these like little pearl onions or something, or are
they're a little bigger than that because they're regular yellow onion, but they're just very, very small.
Oh, okay. All right.
But she said it would work on that also. You know.
Yeah. Well, you know, anytime that you bake or put heat to an onion, you know what you're basically going to do is you're going to caramelize it. You know.
Yes, she said the same thing. That's what she said.
I like onion, cooked onion. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I'll take onion and mushroom and put butter in the bottom of the pan and caramelize the onions with the mushrooms and really good. And then have it with something.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to do that. I have a few more classes, but I'm going to do that sometime later on today.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Veronica, we are cooking, Veronica.
I hear that. Good morning. Well, you know, cooking is another art form, so we're good.
Yes. No, it absolutely. You know, food. You know, I mean, cooking itself is an art. Yeah. It's a way of living artfully. You know.
Yeah, because I always said eating is an art as well.
No.
Well, if anybody watched me eat, I don't eat very artfully, you know, I just eat.
Yes,
well, you know, there's different forms, right? It's just.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not one of these elegant eaters. I just like chow down.
Yeah, that's good too.
You know.
We're just happy that we're able to eat and, you know, whichever way.
Yeah.
But, you wouldn't eat with a tuxedo on, Charles?
No.
I think it's uncomfortable.
You guys have heard of a bib, haven't you?
Well, you know, you don't want to see me light into a corn, you know, like an ear of corn or anything.
Okay.
Like that. It's not pretty. So anyway, but
that's one of my favorite foods, but because of my teeth, as I get older, I can't easily eat that, you know.
Well, I stopped eating corn, you know, for a lot of different reasons. You know, one is you cannot, not in this country at least, you cannot get corn that has not been hybridized and genetically modified anymore.
Right.
And the studies that they've done on that, and the fact that they're adding corn to all kinds of stuff that you would never imagine it being in, what that does to the body is it really messes up your digestive system, you know, and the way that you absorb nutrients. So, so I've eliminated all corn from my diet, and I love it. You know, I love it. But
what about frying fresh corn that you cut it and frying?
No, you can't have any of it.
No, because all of that corn, like I said, it's like soybeans. You know, they've all been genetically modified and hybridized, and the effects that they have on your body is not good. You know, that's you know, that's large corporations, you know,
I love cornbread,
who are, well, and see, this is one of the problems, you know, because cornbread, all that cornmeal is now coming from those very same genetically modified.
Believe it or not, Charles, I thought most foods were genetically modified in some way.
Well, a lot of them had been domesticated from the like tomatoes. See, tomatoes never existed in nature. Okay, they're a hybrid, you know, of several different plants from actually the nightshade family, which is actually a poisonous, you know, generally poisonous to human beings. But but you know, they've created this, you know, fruiting nightshade plant that we call tomatoes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of debate about whether tomatoes are actually good for you, as far as, you know, being able to digest them and things like that.
But before we get here,
I love
didn't eat tomatoes.
Pardon?
Before the white people got to America, the Indian, they used to eat tomatoes, no?
No.
Tomato not original from America?
Tomatoes are not from America. They're a hybridized plant. And I mean, I think tomatoes, as we know them, really didn't come around. I think it was like the 17th or 18th century.
But it came from somewhere, not from here.
No. What they did is they took two very different plants that were both of the nightshade family and crossbred them. You know, one had a fruit on it, you know, the other didn't. And they came up with a tomato. And then,
but actually, I love tomatoes, but I try to eat them infrequently because you do read that you have arthritis in any way, that poison will get to you, and I have found that to be true because I don't eat enough of them. I'm always aware of that.
I love tomato sandwich.
And, you know, tomatoes is like, you know, to me, like corn. You know, I love them.
Right.
You know, I could sit down and I can make a meal out of a plate of cucumbers and tomatoes. You know, I mean, you know, that sprinkle some salt on top of it, I'm perfectly happy.
Oh, that's where I used to eat my tomatoes too. Just get them from the farmer's market and break the salt on and eat them. But I don't do that now.
Yeah.
You know, I learned no, you can't do that.
Yeah, and I still probably eat too many tomatoes, but I love them. Anyway, old habits die hard. So anyway, we need to actually having an art class. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
All right.
Someone's at the beach. I never met her.
Hey, I'm Sa. No, I'm not at the beach. It's just my virtual background.
Oh, okay. It was looking good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, how are you doing? I just met Sa this last week. She showed up for my clay class in the afternoon. So it's good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm officially retired started yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Welcome to the new world.
Yes.
I love it so far.
Oh, well, you'll continue to love it. You just have to do what you love. That's what I can say.
Yeah. So, look, I'm going to jump into the lesson today, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about painting. And I've got actually 3 videos. Now, this is going to be a little odd because I have the 3 videos. We're going to play parts of them, okay? I'm not going to play them all the way through because one of them is like 2.5 hours long. And, you know, for you to get what I want you to get out of it, we don't need to do all that, okay? I'm just going to step you through it fairly quickly, actually, so that we can spend a little more time talking about things and looking at, you know, this one particular artist. And the artist that I'm going to talk about today, his name is Edgar Alwin, A-L-W-I-N, Payne, P-A-Y-N-E, right? And Payne was he was an American artist. I believe that he died in like 1967. But he had a fairly long career. I think he was born right around about 1900. You know, very prolific artist, you know, well-known, and did some beautiful, beautiful work. And actually wrote several books on painting the landscape, which are actually still available out there. And, you know, he really influenced a lot of contemporary modern American painters, particularly those people who kind of have followed that plein air direction and go outdoors and paint, because that's mainly what he did. You know, he would go out and he would do a lot of plein air, and then he'd go back in the studio and then do these big, beautiful paintings, you know, that were just really masterfully designed and painted. And the thing that I really admire about Paine is he was a very good painter, but he was also very conscious of the importance of not necessarily painting exactly what you see, but, you know, designing the landscape, you know, in a way, and his use and choice of color, right? So I'm going to play a real quick little video. Well, it's 13 minutes, and this is on Paine's work, all right? And you know, just kind of sit back, hope you have a cup of coffee or tea or something, you know, and just take a little time and look at these paintings. You know, there's 144 of them in this collection. They're going to go fairly fast, but you know, let's take a look at them, and then, you know, we'll do a little more, you know, discussion and background on Paine. And I want to show you some of his ideas about composition. Okay, and you know, amazing guy, not, you know, to say the least. All right, everybody see a big mountain out there?
Yes.
Okay, good. That means we're all on the same page. And away we go. And I don't know who picked the music for this. It's a, you know, kind of an Asian based thing. But now that would have been one of his plein air pieces, as well as this one. Yeah. Okay.
He painted mostly mountains.
That would not be true.
Well, I'm looking here at his work. There's a lot of mountain.
Yeah, there's a lot of outdoor paintings.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, he painted boats, mountains, regular landscape, did a lot of Western type stuff, but he also painted figures, portraits. Pretty versatile.
He did a lot of work.
Yes, he did. Did a lot of work.
Oh.
Hey, you like that green sky?
I love the light of it. You know how the light, his paintings seem to have a lot of light at some point. You feel like you look at his painting it just lights up, you know.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, if you'll notice as you go through these, he experimented a lot with a lot of different approaches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some very like almost European impressionistic feel and then more American Impressionism, where the paint strokes are kind of broad and very direct. So he really went back and forth and experimented and played with, you know, how to apply the paint. And I really like the use of his color in particular. Like that green, you know, that green sky, but because it's kind of green, it makes those reds and everything really just, you know, glow. So.
Are we still with Edgar?
Yep. We are. Why, are you looking at something different than we are?
No, no, I was fixing me a cup of coffee and.
Oh. So there you go. So anybody got any particular thoughts about his work? Like it, don't like it?
Well, I like the way he handles his lighting in his paintings and his colors, and he gives us a clear picture of the landscape in the West.
Okay.
Um,
Anybody, you know, when they're looking at the paintings, did you notice how he kind of created this illusion of depth in his paintings? You know, I mean, they showed a lot of mountains, right? But like in this, and this is obviously kind of a plein air study. And if you look at it, you know, look how kind of neutral and sort of how subdued the color is, you know, on the mountain in the background. And then where he puts the intensity of the color is really here in the foreground, right? And so it's like each step. So background is very, very neutral, midground, you know, you get a little more color, but it's still fairly subdued. And then when you get to the, you know, foreground, the contrast in value and the intensity of the color, you know, comes way up. So he was really effective, you know, at, you know, being able to paint these landscapes, which if any of you have ever tried, you know, to paint while you're outdoors, it's not that easy.
No.
Yeah. And sometimes, you know, sometimes you really have to, while you're painting outdoors, you have to make a conscious choice to mute and to soften things in the background more than you might actually see, you know, to get it to move back in the painting. So, you know, it's creating that illusion of depth. So, but, you know, his, where is that? Yeah, right. So this is, you know, pretty classic example, right? So you look back here, again, this hillside, you know, very neutral, very gray. And then the trees, you know, sort of immediately in front of it, still very subdued, right? Very muted colors. You come to this large mass and it gets a little more intense in color. And then you get here to the midground and they're fairly strong. But then he puts this one tree and look at the reds and, you know, even the greens, things like that. They're not the same as they are even in the midground. See, they're more intense. So the colors are purer, brighter, you know, and he really pulls that tree forward right here in front of everything else through the use of just, you know, slightly changing the mixture, you know, in his colors. See? Looking for another example, you know, here, you know, again.
That's Midwest or like Arizona.
Yeah, that's a Western.
Western, yes.
Yes. Yeah, probably American Southwest, I would guess. Okay. Yeah, Arizona, New Mexico, you know, maybe Nevada, you know, probably not Montana and places like that. They'd have a little more vegetation, but again, you know, pushing, you know, things way back in the distance back here. And then again, you know, bringing something slightly in front of it, you know, just pushing the color up just a little bit. And then again, you know, another layer. And so he was very conscientious about, you know, how he mixed color. and how he used it, you know, and to get the effect of creating depth, you know, in the painting that he did. So, you know, here's a seascape. Okay. You know, again, you know, same basic thing. You know, it's the use of light and the way that he used, you know, mixing color, you know, to push and pull space, you know, in the painting. So, you know, he was a good guy to look at. I'm trying to get to, yeah, this piece right here. Okay, now this is some, you know, more figurative, right? So it's, you know, Native Americans, and, you know, they're on horseback. And, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, trying to create this illusion of distance and depth in the painting and composition, right? So what makes this painting work? You know, can anybody just kind of make a guess? You know, you see things, you know, that make it work or not? Veronica, I'm going to pick on you.
Well, I'm thinking composition. I'm thinking color values. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, if you squint your eye down, right, and you look at this painting, what happens? It's like everything in the background is sort of soft, right? But
yeah,
then,
and the person in the red shirt comes forward.
Right. These two guys jump forward of everything back there. And again, just like in the landscape, you know, what he did with these figures. See, the color is more intense, higher degree of value contrast, sharper edges. All of that is right here because that's where he wanted you to look. And then back here, see, he lowered the contrast, the value contrast. He also lowered the intensity of the color. And then as he got back here, he didn't really change the intensity so much as he just really simplified it into some really simple shapes and didn't give you as much detail. And again, you know, the size relationships, the scale, you know, it's like as he's come forward, it's just like a perspective problem. You know, he, you know, things closer to us or similar things closer to us are going to appear larger, you know, they're going to appear smaller as they move back. So these could be people on horses, they could be houses, they could be trees, they could be anything, and it would work the same way. You know, if you change the scale of it, you know, it tells you, you know, let's say instead of doing people, he had put a cactus here, right? Well, if you put a cactus here, it would be smaller and lowered the intensity of the color, and then it would get even smaller here, even there. Same thing. So again, it doesn't matter what the subject is. It's the same basic principles, you know, something, if you got something in the foreground and you got something similar in the background and the scale is much smaller, you know, it tells you it's further away. Okay. Notice that there's not a lot of horizontals here, right? There's really nothing going straight across the canvas. You know, everything is, you know, kind of at an angle. You know, this is the closest, you know, the top of this ridge right here is the closest thing to, you know, a horizontal, that and maybe the tops of their heads. Everything else, though, you know, there's an angle too. So that makes the composition, you know, more dynamic. We're going to talk a lot about composition, you know, since that's one of the things that he was really known for, was really looking and how to design and construct a painting. You know, really beautiful, you know, beautifully designed things. And as I said, you know, he did a lot of painting from life. Went out and did a lot of plein air painting and studio painting, stuff like that. But in the end, you know, in his work, it really all came back to composition and design, and how he could make the painting better, you know, than maybe, you know, exactly what he was looking at. So, you know, he wasn't, you know, just copying, you know, the landscape. You know, he was actually taking it, looking at it, breaking it down into the elements, you know, that he saw, and then designing it, you know, trying to create, you know, a better painting. So that being said, all right, let's stop sharing that. And I want you to take a look at this page, and I picked this up. I don't have a large detail of it, but I'd like to get one. And in fact, I'm thinking about buying a couple of his books on landscaping. Like I said, they're still out there and can be purchased. But this is you know, this is a page out of one of his books, and he's talking about composition, right? And if you look over here to the side, right, you know, you can see, you know, and there's, you know, labeled, okay, you know, you got the L, you know, you got radiating, you got a cross, you know, things going vertical and horizontal, something breaking the horizon, right? You've got a kind of triangular composition, right? So here, it's like this tree, and this tree down here, see? Kind of create a triangle, right? And he's showing you different, you know, different ways of using it within the landscape. So again, you know, a point of interest here, a point of interest here with the cloud, and a point of interest down here, see? So, so you can take, and you know, you can use different elements, and it doesn't all have to be land masses or something like that. It could be clouds, it could be trees, it could be, you know, buildings, and, you know, and then you can, you know, design with them, you know. This is one, you know, that he came up with that, you know, and it's been used, you know, but the way he describes it, it's called a steel yard. Why it's called a steel yard exactly, I'm not sure. But it can be either hanging, right, from the top, something coming down. And this is kind of in compositions, and you see this like even in Monet's work, where he eliminates the sky, and he's really just looking at maybe some of the trees and the reflections in the water, you know, and that's what he referred to as a hanging steel yard. But you can also invert that, right? So that it's at the bottom, and these are going vertical and breaking the horizon line as well. So, you know, but he had some interesting ideas about composition and different, you know, different ways of approaching it, and they're well worth, you know, recognizing and learning. You know,
you say this book is still, I need that. You say this book is still available?
Yeah. Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. Yeah.
What's the name of the book?
I believe the name of the book is, you know, just Painting the Landscape.
Okay, and it has his name on it.
Yeah, Edgar Allan Payne is.
Yeah, I got his name. Okay, I might get that. Yeah, because so I can know where things are normally supposed to be, rather than just randomly, you know, drawing it.
Yeah. Well, again, you know, these are big general concepts. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, they're not meant to be copied exactly, but if you begin to understand, you know, how to see and use things within a composition, particularly for landscape, which is what he kind of focused on in these books. But you can do it with figure as well. You know, I mean, they're kind of invaluable. Here's kind of an expanded, well, okay, maybe here's an expanded. I keep clicking on it and it won't go there. Why not? For some reason, we seem to be stuck on that one page. Come on, it won't. All right, here, let's stop. But then where will I find them again? That's a good question. Well, all right, anyway, you got the idea, you know.
Yeah.
So, Let's see. Let's try it again and see if I can get it to move. I don't know. Share. All right, let's see if it will let me go anywhere. And the answer is no. For some reason, it won't. And I had all this, see, I've got all this work over here for you guys to look at. And I can't show it to you because it won't let me do it. All right, well, so much for that. Hooey. All right. Anyhow, I'll try to get more stuff. Let me see if I can find untitled folder. Let's see. I think they're in there. What's that? Nope. They're not in there. I lied. Where did Payne's? Okay. I'm looking for the folder. Where did you get away to? All right, I can't find it now. Okay. So at any rate, yeah, that's Edgar Payne, and I would highly recommend if you get a chance. You could probably actually find some of his books at a library within the Fulton County system, in the case that you're interested. Okay. You know, just call the library and see if they have, you know, any of his books. But as I said, there's still, you know, several of them are still in print. So, so the next thing we're going to look at is I'm going to take you through two different videos, okay? And this is on painting the portrait, and this is you know, a traditional process, right? Now we've talked about traditional process before, right? Everybody's familiar with what that is?
No.
No. Armando, come on.
Well, we have to try to make it be more explicit sometimes.
Okay. Well, traditional process is basically the way that painters painted the Renaissance. Okay. So if you're talking about people like Leonardo da Vinci, Titian, Caravaggio, you know, really all the way up through about the early 1800s. You know, most artists work as we call traditional process. And so what that meant is that they started off by doing what we call an underpainting, right? Armando, do you know what?
Yeah, I'm listening, but what is underpaint?
Okay, well, you know, it's basically a painting in, you know, a monochromatic painting in value, okay? And it could be using a gray, it could be using, oh, that's nice. It could be using a, you know, another color, you know? I mean, you could take purple, for example, and make a value scale and then paint the whole face in purple. And then what you would do is let that dry and then you work other colors over it, okay?
Oh, this is like the base that we put on the canvas.
Right, well, yes, but a little bit further, okay? So, all right, so watch this, okay? Oh, hang on, I got the wrong one. I got the second one. Yeah, let's stop sharing that one. And let's go back and share the other one, because that's the one I want you to get first. There we go. And where did it go? Right here. Nope. Yeah, that's the one. All right, so now notice, if you will, can everybody see there's a canvas, you know, it's sitting on, you know, some drywall screws actually. And it's up on the wall, right? And it's got this reddish kind of burnt sienna tone in the back. And then he's got a drawing on top of it, right? So he's drawing out his figure. Okay. Now, this is the one I'm going to kind of walk you through, because if you'll notice, it's 2 hours and 24 minutes if you watch the whole thing, which is way, way too much time watching somebody throw paint up there on the canvas. Okay. So now he's actually putting his paint, you know, on the wall and mixing the color next to it so you can see what he's doing. I don't recommend that you do this to your walls, okay? You could be doing it on just a piece of, you know, like plywood.
That might just be a bigger canvas behind it.
It's, well, with the drywall screws in it, I doubt it.
Oh.
No, because canvases are not going to hold drywall screws, okay? They just won't. But he's painted it gray, whatever he's working on. And it could be a piece of drywall that's up on his canvas, right? Or up on his easel, so that, you know, he can have a simple background.
He should be showing us what he's looking at.
Well, yeah, he doesn't show you the reference. But what I want you to notice, and okay, let me stop it. Okay. Now, what do you see over here? He's got a big blob of, anybody? White paint, right?
Yes, white painted, yes.
Okay. Now, my guess is that that's probably not titanium white, okay? The reason I say it's probably not titanium white is that titanium tends to be very opaque, right? And for what he's doing, that wouldn't work, because
Titanium is like oil?
Yeah, this is oil paint.
Okay.
But notice that, see where he put the paint down heavier? It looks pretty opaque. But then when he starts spreading it out, what happens? See, as it gets thinner, it gets grayer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, he's not adding gray to this paint. All he's doing is working over this color background, and he's putting thicker and thinner passages of this white. My guess is, okay, if I had to make a guess, is that this is a white that they call flake white. Okay, you might want to write that down, flake, F-L-A-K-E, white. And
I've seen that one. Seen 3 of them, but I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, well, now flake white, you know,
it's only oil, probably.
Yeah. Flake white tends to be more transparent.
I might go to the center to eat lunch, but I don't know if I stay. I'll see how this is playing. And then this afternoon, about 2, I come to the.
Yeah, Armando's on the phone. Okay, so what he's doing, you know, he's using this kind of already transparent white, and he's putting it down in thicker and thinner passages, right? He'll put a little bit down that will be thick, and then he'll take his brush with a little bit of solvent in it, maybe, and begin to spread it out to create a range of value. In other words, he's almost like modeling this, you know, with the white, okay? And so that's kind of what's going on. And so he'll work in these little areas, you know, and start building up the color. And again, you know, this is probably the white with a little more solvent in it. Now he's going back and getting it to be a little more opaque. See, so he's adding on to it. And he's creating this real subtle change in value. And he'll do this, you know, pretty much so to the whole head and face. You know, where he'll build up his range of values, okay? So we're gonna skip ahead a little bit. We'll let you see it a little bit further. So there's further down the line.
Oh, look nice now.
Yeah. And you see, he's still just using that one color, but he's taking that one color and he's thinning it, right?
But you told me one occasion when I asked you if I got drawn on the canvas before doing a paint, and the paint, and you told me, no, I don't need to do that. Did you just go ahead and with the brush and paint what I'm gonna paint? No, without doing any drawing.
Okay, yes. And that's a different process. That's called alla prima. Okay. And so again, you know, there's two different approaches to painting, right? There's a direct process that we call alla prima, and then there's the traditional process, which is what this guy is doing, where he is doing a underpainting. So if you want your work to end up looking like Leonardo da Vinci's work or something like that, you're going to go through this process. If you want it to look more like Edgar Payne's work, where you see the paint strokes, then you're going to do an alla prima process. You're not going to do an underpainting, right? So you see, he's, again, you know, he's just using that one color, but he's building up, you know, his lighter areas and letting, you know, gradating that white so that it begins to create, you know, some subtle changes in value there. Let's go a little further. Yeah. So you see he's moving down. You know, he's done the top of the hair where the light is. Wherever there's shadow, right? He's leaving, you know, the base color. He's not, you know, he's not touching that. You know, he's only building up the white where he wants light or the representation of light, you know, hitting the surface. And it doesn't matter what the color is, you know, what the color will end up being in the final piece. It's all about the value, you know, whether it's a light, mid-tone, or dark value. Everybody kind of got the hang of that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so now after, go to about right here. Okay. So, you know, after he gets all of his lights in, then he goes back in and let's back up a little bit. Yeah, really do right here. Okay. So see what he did is, you know, he cleaned off everything. He's not using white anymore. He's got all that down. And so then he goes back in with a very dark color. Now, this could be a black. It could be a dark brown, like a raw umber. It could be a, you know, any of those dark colors. Like I said, it could be purple. It could be dark green. Whatever you want, you know, it's just some kind of darker, you know, paint so that you can create darker values with it. And
he's using the wall like an easel.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
That's more comfortable for him to standing up and do the painting.
Well, it's easier for him to photograph. Right? So and so he can get a good angle, you know, from the camera so that, you know, he can do a video and show people what he's doing. So as you can see, you know, he's got this darker color, and my guess is that this is a raw umber, if I had to make a guess. And you know, he's beginning to lay in, you know, color over, you know, the drawing. Now, the thing you don't see here is that after he got that white down there, more than likely, you know, unless this is white acrylic, and he could have put white acrylic on this and it could have dried very quickly. And then he's going over this with a raw umber. Now, if this were oil paint, like the flake white, he might have to wait a day or two before he could come back in with that second passage. If he had done it in white acrylic, then he'd be able to go back in, you know, pretty much so the same day and paint over it, because the acrylic would dry quickly, right? So at any rate, you know, so he's beginning to build in his darks now. And, you know, we'll kind of follow it really to kind of about this point, right? And you get a pretty good idea of how that begins to, you know, work as far as the value and the modeling. And you see, having this background color is actually very important, because where he'll put in light and he'll put in dark, this background color becomes what we call a midtone, right? It's that transition between the light and dark. Okay? And it's already there, so he doesn't have to mix a color and add it. We'll go a little further. And so now you see this is where he starts putting in color, you know, over some of these already, you know, toned areas, but we're not going to follow him that far. We're going to stop at, you know, where he's still working in value. Yeah. So now you can see, you know, pretty much sort of the full image, you know, just in values. Okay. So that's the underpainting part. Anybody got any questions about that? Is there any mysteries to that?
I do. I thought we go from dark to light.
And generally, yes, I would say that would be the way, you know, I would recommend approaching it. You know, he actually started from a mid-tone, which is this red, and he put in his lights first, and now he's, you know, putting in his darks. I think you could really, you know, with the underpainting, you could go either direction, but I generally, I mean, and for me, I always start with the darks and then put the lights on top. But then again, I also, as I build a underpainting, I don't take this approach. I don't take the white and then try to create a range of value just out of the white paint by the opacity or the transparency of the paint. I usually will mix my grays, right, or my, you know, my values, and put those down. You know, that's just my approach. Okay. But you know, if you start with a color background like that, or some kind of neutral background, and you know, want to build your darks on top of it first, or your lights on top of it first, I don't think it really is going to make a lot of difference. You know, because in the end, you know, you're going to get both of them in there. So, you know, whether you want to start with the light and, you know, work toward the dark, or start with the dark, work toward the light, you know, whatever works for you. Okay. Did that kind of answer your question, Naomi?
Yes. Now, you don't know if this is acrylic or oil.
Well, I'm guessing it's oil paint. Okay.
I think it's oil.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Now, would acrylic handle a lot differently? Not really. You know, I mean, you could, you know, the thing, if you're going to use acrylic and you were going to take this approach, what I would thin the acrylic with would be a like an acrylic medium. I wouldn't use water. Okay, because if you use water, it would be way too wet, and it's going to drip and run. If you use that like matte medium or gloss medium or any kind of acrylic medium, it's going to help thin the paint, but it's also going to keep the viscosity of the paint, you know, fairly consistent, and it will you know, hang on to the you know, the surface.
Okay, what do you do when you're doing a portrait? Do you do this underpainting, or do you do alla prima? What do you generally do?
Well, it depends. I do both.
You do both.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm doing a life study and I have a live model sitting in the studio, then I approach it much the way you guys have seen me do it in the past, which is an alla prima process. So I'll use a neutral color and I'll get my composition, you know, but then I start actually working direct color into it. If I'm doing a commission portrait, though, I will go through the process of doing a complete underpainting and then working over that underpainting, you know, with color. You know, so, you know, it just, again, it just depends on the circumstance and how much time you have. You know, when somebody commissions me to do a portrait, they're not usually commissioning me and saying, I need this next week, right? You know, it's usually like, you know, I need, you know, this is what we want, you know, this is what we want to include. And, you know, and then we sit down and figure out, you know, a fair price for it and kind of a work schedule, a time frame to work in. And usually when I do a commission portrait, it's usually about 2 months.
Oh my God. That's a long time.
Not really when you start thinking about all the steps that you have to go through. Plus, you also have to allow for, you know, paint to set up and dry, because, you know, there are points where you can't keep adding paint to the painting and not make a big mess out of it. So, you know, it's like, you know, when you do that underpainting, you can't immediately go back in and paint on top of it, you know.
But I like the acrylic that you've done in class, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing, yeah, I mean, again, it's just a different approach, you know.
Yeah, but I thought it was great, and you didn't have to spend 2 months.
No, again, you know, because that's a more direct process. You know, can I sit down and paint somebody in 3 hours? Yeah, I can. And I can get a likeness of them. You know, is it as finished as, say, you know, like a regular commission portrait? No, it's not. You know, so, you know, they're slightly different animals.
Well, it's more painterly when you do it in 3 hours.
Right. Yeah.
Which is what I like.
Yeah, and if you like that style and that approach.
Yeah, I like that style.
But a lot of people commissioning portraits. Let's say if I did a portrait commission for the county and they wanted a judge or something like that. You know, they're fairly flexible depending on how that particular artist works. But, you know, if they want a very formal looking portrait, then it's going to be this approach.
Oh, I have another question. Could I look at the painting behind you?
Can we do that a little later?
Okay, but it looks interesting.
Okay, sure. Not a problem. Okay. I didn't know that you could see the painting behind you.
Yes. It's very pretty from what I see.
Yeah.
We can see everything behind you.
You can? Okay. That's scary. All right. Anyway, so we're going to stop this about right here, okay? Because this is the part I wanted you to get, right? So, because it's interesting. It's different than what I would do as far as how he uses that white and then he thins it, you know, to create a range of value. And in fact, I'm kind of looking at trying to play with that idea and experiment with it myself, because it would certainly simplify the process of mixing all these intermediate grays, you know, when you can create it by just changing the transparency of the paint. So that's why I wanted to share that with you.
Hello.
Hello. So anyhow, so that was.
Sorry, I gotta stop. I gotta run. But thank you, appreciate it. I didn't know how long is this class supposed to be.
Oh,
2 hours.
About noon. Okay.
Noon? Okay, I'll make sure I allot the time. But I gotta go for physical therapy. So.
Well, glad you could join us. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting. Bye,
Okay.
y'all.
Bye.
Okay, so let's see. All right, so let's pick up the next one. Okay. Now this one I'm going to play for a while. Now, again, these are two different people, but they're taking the same approach, right? So it's classical, traditional painting process. All right, everybody see that face right there? And notice that it's already, you know, worked into gray values, right? Now, my guess is with this guy, he's not using that white and creating gradations. He's kind of approaching it more like I do, where he'll make intermediate gray values. and paint them in. But he's got his underpainting, for the skin tones. Now, why he doesn't do that for the hair, I don't know, but that's his thing. But anyway, we'll start. And it's interesting. Now, he has notes on this. And I want you, and this is only like 13 minutes, so I'm just going to let it play. But
Okay.
when the notes come up, read those, because he talks about the color and how he's using color as temperature. Okay? Something we've never talked about before, right? And I'll let this go full screen so you can read it easily. Now, what color is he using?
Mm. When he puts it down, it looks like green, but it's probably not, because it's probably turning green because the underpainted.
Read.
Layer of sap green on all shadowed areas.
Right. There you go. See, he is.
Oh, I didn't even read, did I?
That's what I told you to do, is read.
I can count, but I can't read.
You can't read? You want me to read it to you?
Nah.
All right. So yeah, he's using that sap green, right? Now, why would he use green? Anybody? Got any guesses?
I don't know.
Maybe because he's going to treat the shadows as a cooler temperature than the lights. So he's using warm light, cooler shadows. Okay, next, I use a combination of permanent rose and cadmium red on the nose, her cheekbones, her lips, and around the eyes. Ah, so you see, now he's coming back in with a direct complement, red to green, right? But it's warmer, so a warmer temperature, cooler temperature. So now this is all glazing, so there's no opaque paint in any of this so far. It's just, colors that are mixed down with a painting medium, which could actually be just solvent like turp. But my guess is he's probably got a little linseed oil or something in that as well. Now I want you to notice something. As he's laying his background in, notice he's not trying to get rid of that warmer color underneath. He's letting it actually kind of show through in places, okay? Mm-hmm. So this is not a flat kind of opaque background. Okay? See, now he's starting to work in with, other colors. And he's making what you might call translucent paint passage. Not really opaque, but not transparent either.
1996.
Okay. You guys kind of get the idea?
Yes.
So traditional painting, as Naomi was asking me, okay. Sorry. Stop that for now. We'll go back to that in a minute. All right, where did we go? We're hiding. Traditional process painting, you know, you're building, you know, these layers of for the most part, you know, they tend to be transparent to translucent. And then really, it's just really at the very final stage where you'll pop in, you know, a little bit of opaque color on. And talked about this a little bit in the past, but the, you know, how you mix your paint down is important, you know, because at different stages of the painting, you want to be using either opaque paint, translucent paint, or transparent paint. And in the beginning, just like you start with your paint, what they call lean, to fat. That's what they're talking about. And so you're starting off with your paint very thin, a lot of medium, a little bit of color. And then as you work toward the finish of the painting, the paint gets, thicker, more direct. Now what this helps you do is, one, control the color and the value. But the other thing is it also helps the paint adhere, one layer over another. With getting the paint to be a little bit thicker each passage, it has more adhesion to the canvas. And so it's less fragile. And so, it will last longer, make it more permanent. And that's why you're building your color up rather than just, going straight in and plowing thick paint on top of the canvas, which is really the alla prima approach. So there is a process to it. And anybody got any questions at this point?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, you got it all down, understand it completely. Okay, so I'm going to just step you through. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but I'm going to step you through the final stages of this, as he completes the painting. Okay, so it's the second part of it, and we'll take a look at that now. Now you notice that stick that's, right in the middle of the painting? Anybody? Are you there? Okay.
Yeah.
That's called a bridge or a multi-stick, okay? When you're doing a painting and you're working on a surface that's wet and you want to do some close detailed work, having like and this looks like a 2x2, which is fine. You can get a round dowel from Home Depot. If you got something that's like 36 inches to 48 inches long, that's plenty long enough. And it just acts as a bridge, something that you can rest your hand on, so you're not putting it into a wet paint surface. And even if you have a dry paint surface, you don't really want to put your hand down on the canvas because there are oils, in your skin, and they can get into the paint itself. And along with the oils, there's also a lot of acids and things in those oils that will affect the paint in the long term. It might discolor them or whatever. So you want to keep your fingers out of the paint if you can. Okay.
What's the difference in that and a maul stick?
The difference between a maul stick is basically a maul stick is round and it has a ball at the end of it that you can rest against the drier parts of the canvas. And it's with a bridge, you're not resting it on the canvas itself. You're taking it from the you know, where the canvas is locked in on the easel at the top. And so it's, you know, you're laying it on that wood surface. And it gives you probably about an inch and a half gap between that, you know, that wooden surface and the canvas surface itself. So it raises your hand up a little bit higher than a maul stick would. The maul stick, you can get, you know, pretty close down to the canvas itself.
I think that I like that better because it'll rest, you say it, at the top of the easel without rolling.
Yeah. Now, you know, I made a bridge for myself well, maybe 10 years ago. And what I did is I basically took, you know, 2 scrap pieces of like, you know, 1x6 wood. And I basically attached it to a thinner strip of wood across, and it was just wide enough so that, you know, if I had about a 36-inch canvas, you know, on my easel, you know, I could put those 2 blocks, you know, down at the edge of the easel, and it would raise that that surface that I could work on, you know, by about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. See, and I could run it up and down the frame of the actual canvas itself, and that way it wouldn't shift and would stay in place. So I got rid of that easel, unfortunately. And you know, and that bridge doesn't work with, you know, any of the other easels that I have right now. So I probably need to build a new one. And they're useful tools, and particularly, you know, if you're doing finished portraits, they're good. But really, where they come in handy is if you're doing architectural things that need straight edges and stuff like that. Because again, not only can you rest your hand against it, you can also use it as a straight edge to really kind of create, you know, really nice, clean vertical and horizontal lines. So, yeah, they're useful tools. So.
Why he put those white thing under the chin?
It's called reflected light. Remember we talked about turning form, right? And there's...
Okay, he covered up now with the dark, okay.
Well, no, he blended it in.
Yeah, blended it in.
Right. But see how it kind of creates this glow under her neckline?
Uh-huh.
And so that's the light being reflected from whatever's around her.
Good. Let's watch a movie.
Yeah, let's, yeah.
Slow Horses. Apple. Now, I don't know. I don't like that background color he put it on.
Okay.
That background color, that dark color, I don't like it much. I like that how it was.
Okay. Well, let's see what he does with it, okay?
You have to get to the end to see if you like it or not. How does it make the face pop out or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, he's darkened the value of what's there, but he's also warmed up the temperature of it as well. So in fact, what it ends up looking like
blue.
Light source, you know, hitting the wall behind her. See, now he's going back in with a palette knife and putting some, you know, really thick,
yeah,
kind of impasto paint that's closer to the color that he had originally, right? Now, why would he put that thick impasto paint in the background, do you think?
Mhm. Maybe from there he's gonna take paint it over. Oh, no.
Yeah,
So she comes forward.
exactly. He's creating, okay, it's all about contrast, right? And one of the contrasts is, you know, you got this very smooth, very nicely finished surface against something that's very loose and kind of organic, right? And it creates a higher degree of contrast between her and the background. So she really does kind of stand forward of it.
Uh, uh,
Mm.
I'm going to jump it ahead a little bit.
Mhm.
So you see, little by little, you know, he's bringing, you know, all those surfaces up to a finished surface. See, now he's using that little sponge just to kind of pull any of the damp, you know, all the ridges down and smooth it out so that, you know, it's a smoother finished surface to contrast the background.
does he have some kind of neutral oil that he's putting on it to oil it out, as he calls it?
No, probably it's just the sponge itself.
Oh, okay.
I doubt that he would, well, I don't know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it might actually have some medium in it because it's a little bit darker after he goes over it. So. See, but he's in that last stage. Now he's really kind of working with opaque color. Even though it says glazing technique, it looks pretty opaque. And he's really kind of just, you know, pushing the highlights in those areas. And see, just that little shift in value, you know, just bringing that light up really gives her face, you know, a lot more form.
Charles,
Yes.
I found him. He does mostly face portrait
Right.
and a lot of nudity.
Okay. You mean people are not wearing things over their faces?
No, the whole body.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so he does a lot of figurative work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody got any thoughts about that? Like it, don't like it, helpful, not helpful?
Helpful.
Yes, very. I'll go back and look before as I'm painting.
Yeah.
Hey, you can find him in Google.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can. Well, you can find him, on YouTube. You can certainly Google him and look at more of his work and stuff. Hang on, I gotta.
Hey, when you look, Veronica, you tell me next time what you saw.
Well, what did you see this time?
I don't know. You go there and open it, you will see what it's.
I can tell you what I saw this time, that it's a process, and to thin out my oil paint,
Mm-hmm.
and take my time.
Yes. Yeah. If you're doing a traditional process painting, yes, you're going to have to work from, what they call lean to fat. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing more alla primo, you'll still do that somewhat, but it's not as critical as if you're doing a traditional process painting. So, as I said, you get 100 different artists. They have 100 different ways of, solving problems and working with materials and things.
Yeah.
It's good to look at a variety, and everything he did, I wouldn't necessarily do it that way, right? And you have to kind of work with stuff for a while and figure out what works for you, right? There's no specific right or wrong. It's what do you do to get the effect that you want with that paint surface? So
I think I also would like to either get a bridge,
mm-hmm.
Or the mall stick. I think I really need to try to work with that.
Yeah.
For especially for detail.
Yeah.
You don't touch it.
Yeah. Well, let me save all of you a lot of money. Okay.
Okay.
Go to Home Depot. I think it will cost you maybe like $4, and get a 1/2-inch thick dowel. Okay. And then when you come home, make sure that you have a roll of masking tape that's at least 1 inch wide. If you can get 2 inches, that's fine. Painter's tape is good. Packing tape, okay, but really just that kind of manila looking masking tape is the best stuff. And take an old wash rag, and cut it up into like quarters, and take 2 of those quarters and wrap around the end of the stick and make a ball. And then take the tape, wrap around it, and close it up. And if you want to get really fancy, then do it on the other end as well. And what you've just created is a bridge or a mall stick. It's a bridge if you use both ends, and you know, scale it to the size paintings that you generally work with. You know, if you don't work with like really big paintings, there's no point in making it 48 inches long, you know. You know, if you work with kind of medium sized to small paintings, a 24-inch long, you know, bridge or maul stick, right. Yeah.
That's an aluminum.
Yeah, Eloise has got one. There you go.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with that?
I hold it against the, in front of the canvas to steady my hand
Uh-huh.
to when I'm making fine details on paintings.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly.
Can I see the end of it again?
Yeah.
It's just a wad of paper towels, and I wrapped it with some tape.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is an old aluminum pipe or something.
Okay.
Maybe if I buy a small plunger and I wrap it up with a paper towel.
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah. 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 And what I was telling him, Eloise, is can we see your maul stick again? See, depending on the size work that you do, right? You could, if you work on kind of small to medium sized work, you could do the same thing at the other end, and you've got a bridge.
Right.
Because,
Or on a rubber band.
yeah, you know, but you see, then you've got two ends that you can wrap the frame of the canvas, so you can keep that steady, right?
You can also use a walking cane if you have one and hang it over the top of the painting.
Yeah, that's a Richard Schmid special.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, so you hand on top of that thing where you're gonna paint? I can't use a ruler.
Rulers don't actually work well because they tend to get in the paint. See, but you know, like a walking cane, particularly the wooden ones that have the hook,
yeah,
hang over the top of the canvas, not get it in the paint, and you have a way of resting the hand. I use walking canes all the time for bridges.
I see.
I've got a whole collection of them now.
Oh, okay. You know. I got your message.
And so as I get older and I start needing them to get around more, you know, they're dual purpose now. So, you know, but yeah, I haven't gotten to the point where I need one yet. So not for walking, but they are useful.
For a long walk, I have a stick.
Yeah.
I like a stick, a long stick. If I can hold, if I get tired, I can hold on that stick. Yeah. If I'm gonna do step, it's easier to do step with a stick than with the walking cane. Yes.
Something to help you keep your balance, huh?
No, I help you to go up and down. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You will get there when you get my age. Don't worry.
Don't put that out there. That's not right.
Now, you say you're going to show a picture to Naomi. I think she requested you to show your picture.
All right, here. Can everybody see me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, am I the big person on the screen now for you guys?
Well, you chair, but well.
Yeah.
Well, I just got,
you
know, at any rate, can everybody see the painting?
Yeah, you put some pictures.
It looks like three paintings, actually.
I'm sorry, what?
It looks like like two paintings on top of it.
No, there's like one painting in front of it, I guess. Here.
Oh. Okay.
All right. And let me get the chair.
Oh, okay. That one has.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a small painting.
Oh, I know that lady.
Yeah, you've seen her before, right? You know. And then there's the big painting.
Yeah. Okay.
So, which is
I like that.
Yeah, this is part of a series of paintings I did. It's called Looking Up. So it's basically clouds and skies and things like that. I actually sold a couple of them to Fulton County. And last I checked, the two of them that they purchased were down at the library in Palmetto.
Mm. How were you able to get them to purchase them? Connections?
No, they did an artist call.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, people submitted work, you know, by slide, and then they reviewed it and they contacted you, and basically you negotiated, you know, a fair price for you know, a couple of pieces of work. So
Maybe in one of your classes, you can talk with us about how to determine fair prices for your work.
Yeah, you need to teach us how to price our paintings.
yeah, well, that's.
Well, first I gotta learn how to paint.
Did you say Bernice?
Well, first I gotta get a painting that I think is worthy of being sold.
Yeah.
Oh.
So first she's got to learn how to paint.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, you know, we could get, you know, that is such a long discussion, you know. And in fact,
because the thing I know about me is I don't do contrast well. You know what I mean? Yeah, I struggle with having some parts look lighter and some parts look darker, and what color the background should be to make the foreground move forward. You know, so I have a lot to do.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a guy by the name of what is it, Jean-Paul Basquiat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jean-Paul, Jean.
He's the one that did the skulls.
Right.
Remember?
What's your last name again?
Basquiat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Q-U-I-A-T. Right?
Yeah.
You know, go take a look at his work, Bernice, and
All right.
And if I had to buy one of his paintings versus buying one of your paintings, I'd much rather have one of yours.
And
oh, really?
for several reasons.
Negotiate a price. I'll negotiate you a price.
Yeah. No, seriously. You know, it's you know, the art world. I think I played a video about this and about how it's like the pricing of a lot of work that you see out there. It's you know, it's all a game. You know, it really is. You know, because at some point, you know, some very wealthy people took over the art world and, you know, really super inflated prices on artwork, but only for like, you know, a very small clique of what they consider very collectible artists. But what they're doing, it's not that they're buying the art because they're passionate about the art. They're buying it as a tax shelter.
I think we talked about that one day last week. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been a couple of weeks ago. I played a video on that. You know, but you know, when you go into this discussion about pricing your work, okay, I kind of approach it this way. All right, when I first started out, I was just happy to sell a painting. Okay. I figured any painting hanging on anybody else's wall other than mine is a good thing. Okay. Now, did I want to give my paintings away? No. Okay. I always wanted to get, you know, something for my time, and I wanted to be able to go to the art store after they paid me and get more canvas and paint. So I always wanted, you know, to cover materials, right? And, you know, quite frankly, what it all comes down to, the painting is worth whatever you think it's worth, right? And whatever they think it's worth. You know, my guess is, you know, you're not going to be selling paintings at $10,000, you know, the first time you sell a painting. It's just not going to happen. Okay. You know, you might have to sell a painting for, you know, $100 or $200 or $400. But the more paintings you sell, and, you know, the more often you sell a painting, you raise your prices. Okay. You know, as your work, you know, develops, and as you know, get a market, you know, and word of mouth gets around, and, you know, let's say that, you know, whoever bought your painting, all their friends see it and they come to you and they want to buy a painting from you, you know, then the price goes up a little bit. Okay.
You know, really.
And it's like any other business, you know, you've got to build, you know, over time. You know, the more of a track record you get for selling your work, you know, the more collectible it gets, right? So after you've been at this, you know, 5 or 10 years, right, and you've been selling paintings consistently, you know, your prices are going to get to a certain level where, okay, you know, you're getting enough money for your work where, you know, it's feeding you, you know, and it's keeping you alive. And that's, you know, that's the goal, right? Now, if you happen to be lucky, you know, or run into the right person, you know, who happens to be able to get your work in one of those galleries where those people with lots and lots of money and less sense, you know, want to buy your artwork as a tax shelter, you know, should you be offended by that? Absolutely not. You know, would I like, you know, would I like my paintings to sell for, you know, $150,000, $200,000, $300,000? You know, as long as I got like 40% of that or 50% of that, even 30% of it, you know, I think I'd be pretty happy. You know, if I got 30% of a $300,000 sale, I could buy my house 4 times over. So, you know, that's the way I look at it. So, you know, so as far as advice, whoop, what did I just do? I just lost everybody. Took you off my screen. So yeah, my basic advice is, you know, find a comfortable price point to sell your work, you know, and sell it for what you're comfortable, you know, selling it at. Don't, you know, if you feel like you didn't get enough for the painting at the end of the sale, you know, then it wasn't worth selling it. Okay. You know, so just make sure that you're getting, you know, what you think it's worth.
Well, the best thing I've heard you say is just remember you're starting out and you may have to start low to get high to get yourself known.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, yeah, your expectation of when you sell a painting is, you know, you're not going to start selling paintings that, you know, if you've not gotten any kind of track record as an artist, you know, you're not selling in galleries or shows or anything like that, then more than likely, yeah, you're going to sell your painting for not a lot of money, you know, probably, you know, a couple $100 at the most, depending on the size of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
What about if they're going to use your paint to do printing and sell the print?
Now that's a whole nother thing, see, you know, but if you're, first of all, most people are not going to see a painting and go, you know, I really like that image. I want to put it on my business card, or I want to put it in an ad or something like that. You know, that's not going to happen. Usually for artwork that's going to be for a specific use like that, they're going to commission you to do it. Okay. In other words, you become a graphic artist or an illustrator at that point. And you know, they're going to pay you whatever the market rate is, you know, for you to do that. And you're going to, you know, that's like a commission piece of artwork, and you're going to charge them accordingly, you know.
And I also think you have to think about, you know, I like the painting I did. The lady is running towards the flowers, but I also realized that means something personal to me. You know, that's how I'll see the pandemic, running, you know, getting away from that and running toward a flower. You know, but but that doesn't mean someone else will even see that. You know.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, you know, it's like, at the end of the day, you know, you need to paint the thing that makes you feel good. Okay, as an artist.
Right.
You know, when I started out, and I was very young, I was about 16 when I started selling in galleries, and I started painting landscapes. You know, because I'd painted a lot of landscapes before, and I liked landscapes. you know, but by the time that I got to be about 19 years old, you know, I'd matured a little bit, and I had decided that, you know, I like painting landscapes, but I also want to paint some figures, you know, or I want to put people in my landscapes. And the galleries that I was working for at that time, they hated that idea. I mean, they did, really, seriously. And, you know, I did a series of paintings with figures in them. They wouldn't take them. You know, they wouldn't show them. They wouldn't sell them. And because of that, well, it was kind of a coincidence because I was 19 years old at the time. And that was the time in which I got my draft card, you know, or my little draft notice for the U.S. military. But at that time, you know, I was also kind of, you know, on the outs with the galleries because I wanted to go one direction and they wanted me to stay on the path that I was on, you know, because they could sell that. And so I guess it was either fortunate, you know, that, you know, I had to go a different direction anyway, you know. Thank you to Richard Milhouse Nixon. And, you know, so I ended up in the military for a 4-year stint in the Coast Guard. You know, but I kept painting while I was in the Coast Guard as much as I could, you know, sketching and drawing, but I just wasn't selling anything in a gallery. And then when I got out of the Coast Guard, I had always wanted to go to art school, you know, or study art. And, you know, I had about 1.5 years of undergrad work at Monterey Peninsula College, you know, because I started attending college classes in my junior year of high school. So, you know, I decided on the Academy of Art and ended up going there on the GI, you know, with the GI Bill. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to afford going to a art school, because I don't know if any of you guys have ever looked into it, but art schools are really expensive. They are really expensive. At the time, you know, I could have gone to the University of California for about half the amount that it took me to go to the Academy of Art. But the reason I went to the Academy was because it kind of aligned with my ideas of where I wanted to go as an artist. You know, I had done the gallery thing, and you know, I knew what a starving artist was because, you know, basically when I left the galleries, I was living at one. You know, I was living at the gallery. I was opening it up, and the deal with the gallery owner and between me and him was that I had a place to stay and sleep, and he kept the heat and the lights and everything on, you know, so I didn't have to worry about that. And he would bring me by 1 meal a day, right? 1 meal a day. And the good news was, you know, I would get that 1 meal a day plus whatever I could catch in fish or seafood off the back of the cannery, because I was living in Cannery Row in Monterey. And so faithfully, he would show up every day with a 59-cent box of Kraft macaroni and cheese. And that was my meal. 365 days a year. So
you were a great deal for him.
Yeah, I was. You know, though he was a great deal for me too, because he was a good guy. You know, I liked Bob. His name was Bob Nix. And
he didn't know what meal meant, but other than that,
well, his you know, and see, you know, there's your first legal lesson right there, you know, in definitions of, you know, what does that word mean, meal, you know. And I could have been more specific that the meal had to, you know, include vegetables, meat, and you know, carbohydrates. But, you know, being a 17-year-old kid, you know, I was not very good at negotiating contracts at that time. So I have since learned. Yeah. But no, it was a great deal for me because A, it gave me a place to live that I could afford, and all I had to do was paint. And B, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about talking to people about artwork and about, trying to sell, my work or other people's work. And it kind of gave me some insights, into what that was really like. And those are really valuable lessons to learn. And they stayed with me my whole life. So, I don't begrudge Bob in any way, the fact that he brought me, a 59-cent box of macaroni and cheese every day. That was fine. I certainly didn't starve by any means, but, it's, you learn a lot about, how to start, working as an artist, and, you get some insight into why people buy your work. And that's really important. And the thing I found, I guess, the most, or probably the key lesson, was that, people buy a piece of artwork really for two main reasons. One is they possibly meet the artist, right? And get, in some way, get some kind of connection going with the artist, and they buy the work because of that connection, right? Because they like you, or they relate to what you're doing. The second major reason that they buy a piece of artwork is that they can relate to it. It's some, it jogs a memory of a time or a place or, a situation in their life that they can relate to and that they want to remember, and, and basically at the end of the day, that's it. They're going to buy it for really one of those two reasons. Unless they're one of those high elite investors and then they're looking for a tax shelter. So, I didn't run into a lot of those when I was that age. So, it wasn't a problem I had to deal with. Bye, Armando. Armando's off to lunch. So,
Yep.
Anyway, so this has gone over. We're at 11 after. Anybody got anything else that they want to talk about before we go away? Naomi, did you get to see the painting? We don't know. Maybe she did. Okay, we hope. At any rate, thank you all for coming. I want to give you a heads up, okay, so you can kind of spread the word to people in the group. All right, Monday, this coming Monday, we are going to look at contemporary African art. Okay, and there's an art exhibition that there's a video on that I want you to watch. There's also an artist, and we've talked about him already once, but there's a short video on him, and then there's actually a video on African art, and sort of, it's a very
so it's a category all by itself that doesn't fit in with some of the other categories that we discussed.
No, it's
okay.
No, it's just, but I'm going to concentrate specifically not on African American art, but on art, actually contemporary art being done right now in Africa.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, all right, you might really be surprised at who's African.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you have to consider Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, South Africa, Central Africa, East Africa, and West Africa. And there's all kinds of cultures in there. Okay. So anyway, yeah. we're going to concentrate on Africa in particular. And then the week after that, I'm going to try to concentrate on Asian art. And that's a big category. So you have everybody from Pakistan all the way over to Japan, you know, and the Philippines and things. So we're going to try to take a little bit of a world tour and look at, you know, a variety of different cultures, you know, on Mondays, okay? So now you know. Okay, anybody got any questions? Anything to say before we go away?
No.
All right, have a good
Have
luck.
a good day.
Yep, and we will see you hopefully tomorrow, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Charles. Bye.
Bye, Azam.